On an off the pitch side, I went from not knowing who Finn was in May of last year to him being my emergency contact in England by September. And that just shows like who he is as a person.
You spent a lot this summer playing sevens. Just how important is kind of rugby sevens to your career as a rugby player?
Yeah, it's really important to me. Like, it's something that I really enjoy, and for me as well, like, it's a part of this or the off season where I can still play rugby and still sort of utilise all my skills. And I just love the fast paced game, and I love like being a team, and obviously the social side to it after, like, just feels like such a big part of my rugby, and it's like really important to me as well because it's something that I really enjoy, and I always try and enjoy rugby as much as I can.
Sevens is my life. I mean, I started playing at a sevens academy back in the States in 2019, and that's really where I just fell in love with the game. So if it were up to me, I'd be playing sevens year round, which I know is an unpopular opinion, but yeah, it's huge. I just think you have so much creativity and flow in the game, and allows you to express yourself as a player. So it's huge for me.
Like sevens is something that I've played for, I mean, the majority of my like actual playing life. I think I played more sevens originally when I first started because there was more opportunity for me to do that, like in my area. I think for me, like, sevens brings me enjoyment back into the sport, like especially after a long 15 season, a lot of like rain, mud, cold weather, like being able to play sevens and it having that social element to it, but still having the competitive side as well, like, so important to me. It's what makes me really like fall back in love with rugby.
Personally, like, sevens is like my thing, if I could put it like that. I literally wait all year round to get back to sevens summer. I feel like it's just, if anyone like wants to try it out, like, I recommend it so much. It's just a place to have fun, like, you're keeping your skills up while you're off season, but it's just like an easy game to keep your skills up, get new skills, you meet so many people, and it's just a fun like experience to have. Like, I've had so many opportunities come off the back of all my sevens teams, and I'm really grateful for like getting involved with it in the first place.
Kind of, how did you get involved with Savvy, and kind of how did that start, and how was the origins of that?
Yeah, actually, one of my friends knew Finn, and knew I was a sevens player back in the States, and just said, "Hey, look, Finn's trying to get a sevens program up and going. You love sevens. I think you guys would be good to meet." So yeah, we met on a Zoom call probably about last year, March or April, and then it just kind of kicked off from there.
So I spoke to Finn, obviously the manager, a few times last season. I was actually playing for a different team last season, kind of wasn't really enjoying it that much. And then there's a few of the girls, Lauren, the captain, and Matilda, they were at Cheltenham with me, and were like, "I'll come along to Savvy." And I knew that I really got on with them, and like just really wanted to kind of enjoy playing sevens, enjoy like having kind of that social element and knowing a few of the girls like in the team. And so they brought me along to one of the Savvy training sessions. We all went up together, and then since then, like, the rest is history, really.
So a lot of my friends actually like were already involved in it, so when like Finn was starting it out, he got in touch with quite a few girls I knew, and then he just kind of DM me over Instagram. But it was already quite a northern based team because our sponsors are based, a lot of them in Chester, which is quite close to Manchester. And Finn had been involved in like coaching with Sharks before. He also did some coaching courses with my dad, so I had a few connections there. And once I saw it was like a northern based sevens team, I was like really invested because all the sevens teams I've played for before are all London based, and it's like a lot to travel down there to. So to see there was like a northern team starting out, it was really interesting.
Well, it's kind of, what are the kind of highlights for you this season? Kind of any standout moments on the pitch and off the pitch for you?
So, I mean, one of the main highlights for us was we won Cheltenham Sevens, which was one of our last tournaments that we played in. And that's like my home club as well. So to win there was fantastic. And finally, like, it's it always comes up us against Hammerheads in the final in nearly every tournament that we play against. And so for us to finally get the win and take home like the elite championship was fantastic for us. So that's like one of my main highlights. But then we'd have like other tournaments. We played in the Super Series and we won the first 2 rounds. We won the plate in there, and that was fantastic. And then round 3, we just had a completely new group of girls. And yeah, the day might not have gone our way, and actually we didn't get the results that we wanted or felt that we deserved. But the day that we had like was fantastic. It was one of the girls' birthdays, and we all said that we hadn't felt like we'd lost, and that the people that we were with, and it just felt like a proper family. And that's just something that like I've never had like playing in any other sevens team before. And it was just, I said to the girls, I was like, I've played for so many other teams, and actually this is the first one where I've just felt like I want to stay and I want to fight for everything that we do.
Yeah, so we started off Egg Chasers with, that was my first one of the season, first sort of sevens tournament. Unfortunately, absolutely like threw it down, so it wasn't really sevens scene, but we fought really hard. I think we lost 2-1, I think, and then yeah, it was really hard, but like first tournament together with the girls, just loved being back with everyone and laughing, even though it was like the worst thing ever because of the rain and stuff. But yeah, that was our first tournament, and then went to Gibraltar, which was just fantastic. Like the setup, the way Finn did it, like the team, everyone just vibed really well. We all gelled, and we actually played some really good rugby as well. Obviously with the heat and stuff, it was like really hot, but we all fought like really hard for everyone. We came to the semi-final, and we lost by 1 try, which again we didn't even care because we literally played so well and everyone was just really happy with our performance. And then afterwards, like, we all just spent so much time together and we didn't want to leave, to be honest. Like, it was that good. And heads up to Finn and stuff for organising it all and being able to make us do that, because it's not something you can just do obviously easy, and he puts a lot of efforts in behind the scene and picking the girls and stuff. So yeah, Gibraltar was definitely my favourite. And then Lit Sevens, that was another hard competition, again coming against like some of these Super Series teams and stuff like that. And then last one was Cheltenham, which for me was probably like a big milestone, because we had 2 savvy teams and we literally had to play against each other, which was hilarious because Finn didn't even want to watch at one point. But no, like, really good tournament. Cheltenham itself is run really well, and just like everyone that was there was like cheering for each other, and we were all supporting Savvy, and it was just a nice time to end. It was a good way to end the season with sevens, because it was the last tournament and obviously Finn's team won, which I'm not too happy about, but no, I'm really glad for him because it deserves it, and it just for me like epitomises the whole of what Finn's done for Savvy and how he's got so many girls being able to play rugby sevens. And obviously it's not something that is very open to everyone, like it's not something you can just always do because it is a summer sort of thing, so it's nice to just be able to get everyone together at the end of a long season and play some fun rugby.
They were so special. Like, I've been to a lot of like away tournaments and like I love them, like it's my highlights. So to do that with a team that I really, really love, and with a group of girls that were like, so we just bonded so quickly. Like, it's a different experience going away for like a full week to like 1 day tournament. Like you make so many bonds, you learn so much about each other, and in the end result you play better together and you meet so many people. It's crazy. But that Gibraltar tournament, it was like a real stepping stone in like our progress. Like, to have the crowd and other teams complimenting our like style of play, just our energy around the tournament and the culture we've like created, like it's so nice to see, like actual compliments from people, like just spectators. Like, it was so nice to hear.
Last year, round 2 of the Super Series, when we beat Samurai in the semi-final, and you would have thought we had just won the final because it was just our second tournament as a team. And we ended up losing to Hammerheads in the final, but honestly, when you look at photos from that game, we looked like we had won the match. Like, just the bonds we've created and like the success has just been, it's just been exponential. And I think like another highlight was Cheltenham Sevens this year, like having two sides out in a really tough elite competition. And just, we truly had each other's backs on and off the pitch. And I think, Finn sending sides out to Gibraltar and Paris this year, like that's huge. And I think it shows what we're going to create moving forward. And that's just in 1 year.
I think just make like seeing it grow. I think a definite highlight tournament wise was Norwich Sevens last year. We went down with 5 players. And Finn the night before was like talking to me like, should we go? Like, what? Like, it's a long way to go for us. It was about 6 hours. We had people dropping like flies, and I was like, it's a tournament. Like, I'll go to any tournament. Like, I don't care. It's a day out. So we had 5 players for like the first few games, and then 2 other girls joined later in the day. So we ended up with 7 just before like the final, and we ended up winning it by like quite comfortably. And it was like such a shocking, like we were all shocked at how well we could play with 5 players, and that we're just all in the team working together. Like, not all of us had played together either, so it was quite interesting to have a new mix of people. And like we all had to play 14 minutes, so we didn't have a choice. We went out, we beat a team that we hadn't beat all summer with 5 players, so it was a real like highlight in my eyes that like we could win something even if we didn't have like the strengths that we thought like we just had to work together, and we could win no matter how like high level the players we had around us. As long as you click as a team, you can do whatever you want.
And they've kind of talked about just how important that the family is to Savvy. Just how important is that for you to enjoy yourself playing the sport?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can play your best rugby unless you're enjoying it. And the culture that Finn has created allows you to do just that. It doesn't really matter what the outcome is at the end of the day. But as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, and you actually see that, some coaches will preach like that motto, but when it comes down to wins and losses, it's not really seen through. Whereas like with Finn and Savvy, that is genuinely what it is. And that's why people keep coming back for the culture.
Yeah, I just absolutely love it. Like, for me, it's just basically being with all your best mates, and like I've got a great relationship with Finn where like he can tell me what's what and like he's so professional, yet he's so welcoming and so comfortable around him. And I go to him about rugby needs, like other stuff, and like I think for Savvy in general, like girls want to play there, and like I don't think anyone ever like comes away like, oh, that was, like there's just such a positive atmosphere, and everyone wants to play for the team and wants to play for the shirt. And like especially now we've got more girls, like it's just getting better and better. Like when I'm pretty sure Norwich there was 6 players and they managed to win it. And I think looking at that now, when there was 6 players to like 2 full teams, is just something that's can't be beaten. And I think we're making a legacy that is really important in Sevens.
I think we just have a lot of vibes. Like, everyone's always so happy. Like, there's no one bringing it down. Like, no matter where the people are from, like everyone's so different, but we just managed to all bond together. Like, every single person in that team can like sit with anyone and like they'll feel comfortable. And I think that's a big thing when like you turn up on the day and you don't know anyone. To feel comfortable straight away is such a like an important thing. I never want anyone to feel like left out or like awkward. Like, it's always making sure everyone's comfortable, and Finn's really good at doing that as well. Like, everyone said he's such a friendly person that when you come into the team, like there's no hesitation to like want to like not want to be there. And he keeps like a good level of like friendship and professionalism, especially when he's quite young. It kind of helps because it's more like relatable. Like, he's only a year older than me, so it's quite nice to have that. Like, you can feel like you can talk to him.
100%, like it's so important. like you find that actually when you've got a group of girls around you that you really trust, and that you know that if you make a mistake, you're not going to be talked about, or not going to be like pressured into like trying to not do better, but try and correct that straight away. And you, because that affects the way you play. Like if you're really feeling that pressure, you don't perform well, but actually you know that if you make a mistake or you do something really good, that person's right behind you, and they're like celebrating every single thing with you, even like the small losses. And actually having that family around you makes things like that could be so catastrophic in other teams really not that bad at all. And it's just like important you feel comfortable with everyone. Like my first tournament, I was really nervous about how I was going to feel, because I knew a lot of the girls had played together last season, and within minutes of being there, they're all around you, like talking to you, finding out things, like having a laugh and a joke straight away. And that goes through like into the management, into the physios as well. Like they all want to know you, all want to talk to you, like make you feel as comfortable and as like joined in as possible. And that's so important.
I think there was a point during the season with Savvy where there was 4 competitions in 7 days, and there were 37 players kind of represented the club. Just how much of a testament is that to Savvy as a club, but also Finn to kind of organise that many players to play for Savvy?
Yeah, it's so like such a testament to him, and he does so much. And I don't think people realize how much work he does in the background as well, with like he's got as well that he still does to such a high level, and to get that many girls out and to perform at like such an elite level as well. And all of the competitions that we entered, we reached like the final stages of them all and put on a really good showing. It wasn't like anyone went with a weak team. You looked at all of the team sheets, and the team sheets were strong, like good players, good names. And that's such like a big testament to both the girls involved, like the management, and obviously like Finn. And just the fact that people want to play for Savvy, and it's now a name that's known. And I think the fact that you don't have like a boys side as well, like they're not, the boys don't bring anyone in because it's just the girls. And that's such a big thing, like for us, that we're the only team, and we're the team that matter to Finn.
Yeah, it's almost hard to put to words how proud I am of the program and of Finn. Like all credit to Finn, honestly, what he's created and what he's done for women's rugby, especially in sevens, is just huge. Like we started as just a group of players, half the team had never played sevens before, to this year putting out 2 sides in elite competitions. And like you said, how many players he's given the opportunity. I don't think you've seen anything like it in a while.
So many different kind of walks of life within the Savvy side, different nationalities. Obviously, yourself. There's people like Matilda, Eva from like Scandinavia, people like Willow playing for Ireland. Obviously, all the English teams, Michaela Lewis, Jamaica. Just how important is it to have all those different walks of life coming together, not just for the culture off the pitch, but also the playing styles on the pitch?
Yeah, I think that's what's one of the coolest things is you do have so much different experience. Like you've said, we've had people who are playing international rugby or club rugby back in their home, and then they bring it to it. And we don't play with a super tight structure. We have a foundation, but it's not fixated on a structure. And Finn preaches to us, just enjoy it, be creative, have fun with it. We have our principles, but at the end of the day, enjoy it. And that's where I think players can flourish. And we see, like I know what Willow's going to do 90% of the time. She's going to get the ball because she's allowed to just be creative and have fun with it. Same with Matilda. She's going to bring what she's been doing at Sweden and have those crash balls up. But it doesn't matter if it necessarily fits this structure, but we're allowing our players to be creative and flow as an individual. And then when everybody backs it 100%, it just works. And I think it's really fun to be a part of.
It's crazy. Like you meet so many people as well. Like the networking of it is like, I know so many people from different teams now and all coming together and like their different experiences. And it's quite interesting to play with different style of people. That's why I quite like sevens, because you meet so many different people with different ways of playing, then you can adapt your way of playing to new people. That always advances your skills in that way.
Partners kind of associated with the club in Brave Mind, W Rugby. Just how important are they to have a kind of like quite big brands and kind of important brands in women's rugby as well?
Oh, so important. Like we always talk about, and obviously across our like sponsors t-shirts, we have Brave Mind, and we've had the gazebo, and people walk past and go, oh, whose is the Brave Mind tent? And we'll be like, oh, that's ours. and people like then stop, and that's how you start a conversation. And people don't actually realize what brave mind is a lot of the time, like loose heads, and actually having to talk about brave mind's fantastic for us. Like, it's a real USP. And with like W Rugby as well, like they're fantastic, giving us equipment so that we can warm up and train properly, and no one else, like if we see one of those balls on the floor at a tournament, we're like, that's ours, like, because we know that we're supported by them. And it's just so important to have like those sponsors that really help us drive to like reach that elite section.
Yeah, definitely. Like W Rugby as well, like they're so open to like helping grow the game and like putting everything out there for us. And like Brave Mind, obviously, with like mental health and stuff, so important, and I don't think it's talked about enough. So anytime like we get to represent that, we do it with a very proud heart. And I think for Finn, it's so important for him with the stuff that he has to deal with and all the stresses of being a manager and stuff. So like I think having these people to support the team in general is really important. And also as well, like it's just nice that like these places are wanting to support Savvy as well. Like they know how good of a team it is, they know how good Savvy like means and stuff. So I think it's really important to be able to represent them, but for them all to be able to say like, oh yeah, we sponsor Savvy and stuff like that. Yeah, so I think it's really important.
So important. Like they have helped us out so much. Like in our first season with W Rugby, we did little awards at the end of like tournaments, and you won like the W Rugby ball to take back to like your home club, which I thought was such like a special moment and a special thing to do. But like just having them backing us, like they're so like apparent on like social media and stuff like that, like it really helps get the name out there. And to have like a charity is like such an important thing to like represent who we are as well. Like we want to give back, even though we go to these tournaments to like win and like win prize money, that money is going back into something important. Like we're spreading the word.
There's so many sides you compete against in that Super Series. You have that men's setup to kind of help them and boost them. Just how special is it for to be Savvy being a women's only side and will always only be a women's only side?
Yeah, I think that's huge. Like I said, you don't really see it. I don't really know any other women's sides in Seven Circuit that have just a women's team. And I think that is a testament to Finn's dedication to growing women's rugby, because he could be splitting his time and his energy and his resources across two sides, but he's not. And he's putting everything he does, his own money, his sponsorship money, straight into the development of what the women's game. I mean, that's huge.
And what do you think is kind of next for Savvy going into next season?
I think Finn has big plans, so we've just got to get on board. But I think, consistently having two sides out, I think eventually having a program that kind of feeds into it with maybe younger sides, getting the consistent squad. I think that's, where we can kind of develop a bit more, is having a consistent squad in the Super Series. But when, the Prem season runs a bit longer and stuff, some girls are in and out, which is a bit tough. So I think having a consistent squad over the Super Series will be our next look ahead, probably getting into a few more of the big international stuff, maybe Amsterdam. And I think ultimately just giving more women the chance to play rugby. I think, like you said, this year, 80, 90 players a chance to play. Why not push that to 120 for next season?
I think just growing. I think we want to do a few more away like tournaments, because they were definitely big highlights, and they're real, like it's an exciting aspect of it to get like the organization to go to a different country to play in these tournaments. And it's nice to play different teams as well. Like all the English tournaments, you pretty much bump into the same teams, the same people. So to go away and play, like we played against like Germany and Belgium, like some big teams, some big names, and we did well against them. We might have lost, but to show that we could challenge ourselves against them, and then they go on to like European tournaments and still do well in there, it's quite a testament to see. Yeah, definitely that, and just seeing it grow, like more people, more trophies, hopefully. Just seeing everyone get involved and creating that family even more.
Spoken about Finn quite a lot, but just how could you kind of sum him up as a person and a kind of a leader within the Savvy family?
That's a really good question. Definitely welcoming, energetic, and fun. We'll go with fun.
Just so like genuine, I think is the one word that really like hits home with him. Like he's so honest and he'll give you like feedback, and everything he does to like improve you and improve the whole setup. And you can just see how hardworking and how much everything means to him. And there's no like hiding emotion or hiding like how he feels. He's just honest and genuine, and he just wants everyone to do well, regardless of whether that means that he might not get much sleep because he's traveling to and from tournaments or whatever. Like he puts everyone in front of him, and he's just such like a great guy.
Literally like the Rock, like without Finn nothing would happen, and like even to the point where like the physios are now just as much as, obviously they're very important anyway, but they like the way he just introduces everything to girls that like some people have never played in a setup like that before, and to be able to feel so comfortable for me is so important. And just how he deals with situations and how professional he is, yet so like loving, and he's like a dad, a brother, like a best friend, like a coach, like a supporter. Like there's never one minute where I don't see him with a smile on his face, and if it is, he's probably shouting at one of us because we probably knocked the ball in or something stupid. But yeah, he's just so important, and he just doesn't get enough credit for what he does behind the scenes. And I think this sort of season of Sevens has really shown. He did some special stuff out in Gibraltar, and to me, I will never forget that. So it's a massive memory for me as well.
On an off the pitch side, I went from not knowing who Finn was in May of last year to him being my emergency contact in England by September. And that just shows like who he is as a person. He gives 110% to absolutely everything he does. He would give you the shirt off his back, and he would do that off the pitch and on the pitch. And he just, like I said, a lot of these girls are coming from high pressure environments where they have to perform all of the time. And Finn kind of takes that pressure off and allows them to just play. And I think with that, you see growth, because when you aren't scared to make a mistake, you have more freedom to develop. And I think that's huge for your game. So I think, yeah, on and off the pitch, he's a driver of a lot of success.
When I set out to do this kind of Savvy video, I wanted to speak to both the players. So we've heard from Lauren, Hollie, Willow and Laura there, but also hear from Finn as well. And I think heading into the chat with Finn, I kind of got an idea of how important he was to the Savvy family, but I didn't realise how much till I came away from speaking to him. Obviously we heard the really kind words there, and I think I can completely understand where all they come from after the chat with him. Just so engaging, so interesting, and just also how dedicated he is, not just to Savvy, but also to women's rugby and the growth of women's rugby. So I implore you to make sure you stick around and watch the full kind of chat me and Finn have, because we could have chatted for hours about women's rugby. So check it out, because that is coming now.
Sevens kind of importance for you as kind of a rugby player, rugby fan, rugby coach, and kind of just what's the importance of Sevens to you?
So I think Sevens is like I started my interest because it's a fast game, it's a different game. It kind of brings in a different focus at a different part of the year. Like when you're a bit of a rugby nose, when you're quite interested in rugby, it's quite nice to be able to keep it going all year round. When you're just 15s, you find that kind of break quite boring. You kind of want to get back into things. So like to find Sevens and to be quite interested in it was a beauty, to be perfectly honest. It's a fast game, it's a different game, it requires different skill sets, it requires different focuses, and it's just one that I kind of fell in love with from the get-go, really. As soon as I found Sevens, I kind of lost my love for the 15 side of game, to be perfectly honest. Like I still enjoy it, but it's looking forward to the 7 season as much as I possibly can, really.
And what's your kind of background in rugby from kind of growing up?
So I started playing rugby when I was about 16. I was always into athletics before that. I was relatively quick whenever I had to be. Like when it came down to a race day or training, like I could run as quickly as I possibly could, and I did all right. At high school, my PE teacher, who was involved in like the Sale Sharks kind of pathway and academy with the lads, got me quite interested in rugby. So I got into that quite quickly at 16, progressed into county and stuff within a couple of months. But those who know me, I kind of picked up quite a lot of injuries quite quickly. Backs quite quickly. There wasn't a lot I could do. Struggled with a lot of concussions, had a few long-term injuries, and around like kind of 18 and a half to 19 very quickly stopped playing. And that's when I transitioned to rugby. I was lucky with those people around me. I had those contacts. I got into coaching like a relatively good standard quite young, got onto my coaching qualifications. And then COVID hit, like with everybody, it kind of paused everything that we were doing, and that made me almost question kind of where my focus was, where my beliefs were, and exactly where I wanted to take my rugby. So that was kind of where I made the decisions to jump on board with what I'm doing now, basically.
And can you just kind of talk through what are you doing now? Obviously, talking about Savvy, we'll get onto that a little bit more. Just kind of what else are you kind of doing now?
Yeah, so I think it was end of September, beginning of November, I moved down to Oxford from Chester and Manchester area. First kind of full, like part-time to full-time role within rugby. So I head up the women's program at Oxford Brooks and Oxford Harlequins. So they run a women's program kind of in a partnership. So I overlook that. And I work as a rugby coach at the City of Oxford College on the girls program, who compete in the equivalent of the boys' Ace League. So we're in a performance league. We play against 10 other colleges like Hartbury, like Henley College, like Bishop Burton up in Yorkshire. We compete against them on Wednesday. So I've got a fair balance between like your kind of your high performance at under 18s level and then working at university and club. So I have quite a nice balance of the women's game as it currently is. And then obviously, as you touched based on with Savvy, I kind of on the side of things running an elite invitational program that solely operates for women in rugby.
So just to talk about something, moving on to Savvy, kind of what we're here to talk about mainly, just how did it kind of start and kind of how has it progressed to what it is now?
To be perfectly honest, I don't really know how it started. I don't really know kind of where it came from. I got into a couple of conversations and it kind of blew up a lot faster than I thought it would. So kind of January, February of 2022, I started holding a couple of conversations about the potential of us being able to set up a bit of a sevens team with some decent players and kind of see how we went, like potentially like this season or next season. But like the turnaround and the interest seemed quite high quite quickly. So I jumped on board. I kind of then jumped into the process of finding sponsors, finding kit, finding players, finding people who are going to be interested, people who could help with the social media, the marketing, and just try and get the name out there as quickly as possible, really. That was and still is pretty slow in terms of the funding, in terms of the partnerships, in terms of like our social media presence and things like that. But the one thing that I can't fault is the players that have been part of the program. Like, we have grown massively and nowhere near what I expected us to do this time last year or even a couple months ago. Like, I worked out a couple of days ago that we've had 119 players play for us in the last just over a year. So for that kind of mission of wanting to increase as much participation as opportunity for women in rugby as we possibly can, it's been quite mind-blowing. If you told me this time last year that we'd have that many players and that we'd be fielding 2 squads on the same day in different locations and same locations, I wouldn't have believed you. So it's been one hell of a growth.
I think you kind of touched on it with the amount of players, just what Laura and Hollie have kind of touched on, is that kind of family feel. Just how important for you kind of leading the setup is that for you to have that within a setup you kind of running?
That's everything. Like without that, to me, it's difficult to justify why we would do it. Like for the growth of a program, so if we go back to what our kind of mission is, and that's to give opportunities and experiences. If you don't give a positive experience and you don't give the players something that they want to be part of, we're not going to give them the opportunities. They're not like we could give them the playing opportunities, but they're not the opportunities that the players deserve to be a part of. like the family vibe, the family feel is absolutely everything. That's what I wanted from day one. But like I go back to it, I can't fault the players. They're the ones who have maintained that. They're the ones who started it, and they've continued it through. I've just been there in the background. Really, they're the ones who have taken it up from the forefront.
How big is your phone contact to kind of keep an eye on and keep in contact with all these? What did you say? 119 players, I think.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
there was, I think there was a point in the season you had 37 across 4 days. Just how tough is it for you to kind of manage and keep all these squads up to date and who's playing and who's available where?
It's difficult. It's another full-time job, but it, like when you're in it, it's stressful. Don't get me wrong. Like a lot of other coaches who run sevens program at any level, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a lot of late night messages. There's a lot of late night calls of trying to like make sure people are still coming. If they're not coming, like we've got to try and find some other players. There's trying to make sure that we've got like the equipment that we need, all the kit that we need in the right place. There's challenges like you said, we had 37 playing like across 4 tournaments in 1 week. One of those was in France. So trying to manage like a tournament that's going on in the UK whilst I'm in France is quite difficult. But it all comes back to that family side of things. Like you just got to trust those people that you brought into the family, and they're going to do it. Like if I didn't bring them in the first place, like there's got to be a reason I brought them in, right? And I've just got to trust them with that. But yeah, it's difficult, and I've learned a lot. Like managing, like I'd be interested to know how many we've had kind of play with us this season, but I reckon it'd be 80 to 90. And to kind of manage those players across a season, coming in and out, depending on what they're doing with their actual club sides or other invitational sides, it's difficult. But having that family kind of style approach, it makes it a lot easier. It makes it all quite approachable.
You mentioned obviously the tournament in France, but there's also the tournament in Gibraltar. Just I think Hollie kind of touched on that as kind of one of the highlights of the year. Just how tough was that to organise? Obviously, it was a little bit of funding had to be kind of raised to get the team out there as well.
Yeah, that was very, very difficult. And the people who are part of that journey and the people that came to Gibraltar, I think will know exactly kind of how difficult it was, and how much of a toll it kind of had on me, to kind of try and get us out there. Like I don't want it to become like a bit of a soft story or anything like that, because that's not why we're here. But like we got a small donation right at the beginning of last year, at the beginning of 2022, and apart from that, it like the whole funding of the whole program has come out of my pocket, and that has been very, very difficult. Like you're trying to live in Oxford, I'm trying to work, I'm trying to eat, but I'm also trying to run this program. It like getting sponsors, as a lot of people are going to go, is very, very difficult. And I've contacted over 300, 400 people this year just to try and have a conversation, but off the back of the pandemic, coming into a new financial year, like we're a new team, it's difficult for people to justify that. But Gibraltar meant a lot to everybody this year. It was one of those ones, like you said, we had to get some crowdfunding done. We didn't get as much as we needed, but like every little bit of that helps, and that went a long way. That was to help like the players for their accommodation. That was to help with the tournament entry fees. I don't want these players to be paying an awful lot of money to be able to go somewhere. Like I could turn around and ask them to pay £1,500, for example, to go to Gibraltar, which covers everything, all their food, all of that. But like, why would I do that? That's just not what we're about. So it's difficult, but that week was exactly why we did it. And I'm sure Hollie spoke about it. Like the memories we created that week were very, very special.
And obviously there was Super Series as well this year, just playing against other elite teams, I think. And you see teams like Hammerheads who have their men's side. How tough is it for you? But also how nice of you to come against a team like Hammerheads who've been around for a while, but also have that set up with the men's side as well, and you are just the women's team, or only a woman.
Yeah, it kind of, I don't know, it like, don't get me wrong, to be able to run a men's and a women's team at an elite level is unbelievable. But I said it from the get-go when we started last year, like we won't ever bring a men's team into the setup. It's kind of our unique selling point. I want to put women in rugby at the forefront of everything that it is that we do. And to be able to go to these big tournaments kind of without I guess like the double chance of being able to bring in some money at the end of the tournament and things like that to be able to fund further ones. Like, it's special coming in as a small side. It's special coming in as knowing that this is what we're all about. This is the highest level that we're playing within this country. And yeah, it's brilliant. Like, the Super Series was tough this year. The standard went way up in comparison to what it was last year. We finished third last year. I think we were fifth this year. Like, we had some difficulty with injuries. Like, teams changed. Like, Prem finishes halfway through, and it's a free fall basically on those Prem players. What we're trying to do at the moment is try and offer that consistency within our team. I'm a firm believer in, like, consistent players is what's going to bring success. So if I can get those consistent squads and get those players who buy into the family vibe and that culture and the attitude, then I think the next couple of years are going to be really exciting.
You mentioned the kind of difficulty finding sponsors, but there are a couple of partners on board, obviously Brave Mind, W Rugby as well. Just how important are those two kind of big names-ish in the women's rugby circle, women's rugby scene? Just how important is it having them on board as well? Also, someone like Brave Mind, who are so mental health driven. Just how important are things like that?
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. W Rugby have been with us from the get-go. Like, they were the first people that came on board right at the beginning. And Andy and W over there are just legends. Like, I couldn't do any of the stuff that we do without them. Brave Mind, Sai over at Brave Mind has been unbelievably patient with us. He's been massively giving. He's helped us an awful lot. Like, these, like, the way that we approach our kind of sponsors and our partners are to get on board in a relationship with people that are like-minded, and they tap into exactly what it is that we believe in. So W Rugby are all about their grassroots, and it's about giving back to those grassroots. Brave Mind it's all about mental health within rugby and kind of what approaches we take, kind of resilience and perseverance within that. And that's something that's hit me quite hard, and I know it hits players quite significantly all over the shop. That mental health umbrella within sport is very important, and what Brave Mind are doing is unbelievable. So not only are they kind of helping us with that exposure and kind of sending our name out there, but we're hoping that we're able to share their mission as much as possible too, with them being on our shirt.
You kind of mentioned the opportunities you're providing through the sevens, but obviously so many of the side had successful seasons kind of away from Savio. All the Cheltenham Tigers girls winning at Twickenham again, winning that final again. Ella Cromack getting under 18s for England, now moving to Quins. Willow Bell getting Ireland under 20s. There's probably so many more that I kind of can't remember now, but just how special is that for you to see them succeed away from Savvy, but also bring their skill into the Savvy team as well?
I think that's exactly why I do it. Like, I can't take credit for the majority of those people. I would just like to think that I've impacted them in one small way, that potentially they've taken one little bit away, and that's hopefully helped them get to where they are now. But you know, it's all about those players that come to you in the beginning. It's all about the players that stick with you. They're committed. They're consistent with that. They go away. They tear up on the 15s. The 15 season, and they come back and they're back with you in your small little family. To see them succeed is unreal. Like, Ella Cromack, I've worked with her at the City of Oxford College for the last year. To see her come out of that college to play with us in the sevens, like, and not just to play, but to be unbelievable, and then go and sign with Quins is very special. And Willow has worked very hard over the last couple of years, and for her to get that call up is, like, we were all very, very proud of her. And like you said, Cheltenham Tigers winning at Twickenham, like, I went to that game that day, and to see all of them playing was phenomenal. Like, it just makes you quite proud. It makes you proud of what it is that they're doing, and you just hope that you've had a small little part to play in kind of influencing them to get there.
And obviously there's not just like the English girls playing, there's so many different nationalities. Obviously Lauren American, Matilda Swedish, Ava from Cheltenham Tigers Finnish, the Michaela Lewis from Jamaica, and just kind of all sorts of different heritage, different backgrounds. Just how important is that kind of builds on that family feel again, doesn't it, for you?
Yeah, definitely. And like, it's that family, isn't it? But you want people from all walks of life with different experiences. We're not going to grow as a family if we don't have people bringing different perceptions in. Yeah, like, we could get a load of girls that are from the UK and like, they know each other and everything, but to add on to that family and to bring people in with different perceptions on the game, different perceptions on life, that's what that's what I think kind of truly sets us apart in our approach, and makes us question things like different countries play different types of sevens, different clubs play different types of 15s. Like, why not bring all of that together and try and make something special?
And just kind of what are a few highlights for you from not just this season, but the season before as well?
I think that's quite difficult. It like I get a new highlight every week. If I'm looking back at kind of this season, I think making it to France for our first kind of international competition was very, very special. It was a short trip. I drove out, met the players there. When they got back from the airport, we played the 2 days of tournaments and we flew back the next day. It was a short but sweet, and we did well. We came third. We finished behind Germany and Georgia. Like that wasn't like we were going for participation, and you know, like the girls nailed it. They did really, really well. It was a tough 2 days. Gibraltar, like we've spoken about, was very special. It was the crowdfunding that played a big part in that. Like, a lot of the players' families sent out messages, and it got quite emotional. We all got pretty close that week, and that was special. To do the series second year in a row was brilliant. I think the overarching one for me was Cheltenham. We've fielded 2 teams on the same day before. We fielded them in the same location before, but they've never been in the same group stages. They've never been in the same competition. So for when we kind of got them both there, both teams with 12 players, they played against each other, and then one of our teams came away as champions on the day was very special. Like, despite the horrible weather and how many times it took me to wash the kit clean, it was a very, very special day. So that would be my highlight.
And just what you kind of touched on it a little bit, kind of how you want to grow, but what is next for Savvy, and what's next for yourself with Savvy?
I think I've spent a lot of time thinking about it. I've touched base on it already. I think the main thing for me is consistency. What I want to do is I want to get people in consistently for X amount of tournaments. I want the opportunity to work with them properly. As you may know, like invitational sevens, invitational competitions, like you only really have the day with them. So like, if I can actually really give them that coaching, I can give them that elite kind of environment, that elite experience, and I'm hoping I can really give them the opportunities that they deserve, rather than just getting them in our kit and just playing for a day. Like, I want to give them the proper service. We're partnering with the English universities next year with the women's sevens, so that'll be quite a big thing for us. We'll be looking to work alongside them, creating opportunities for our young players coming through. We're looking at the moment for potentially setting up an under-18s academy. How that looks at the moment, we're not 100% sure, but we're in conversations with like UR7's academy around some internal fixtures with their under-18s girls. What that looks like is still to come, but the next stages for me is to continue giving opportunities, but to give those opportunities at the highest level that we possibly can, that not a lot of other teams are doing. I just want to give back, basically, and I don't just want to limit ourselves with our kind of core players. Like, why not build a bit of a pathway up while we're doing it? Let's give them something to work towards, give them the experience, give them the pathway. Like, we both know, and a lot of people know, there's not a great pathway within sevens, men or women. But if we can give ourselves a bit of an internal pathway, we can give them some opportunities, and then hopefully expand to working alongside some other clubs, then that'd be brilliant.